Wait on. Has everything there.
Okay, folks, we are live. We are live. Oops, we have to change that.
Bahar means spring.
Hold on 1 second. Bahar means on the mountain. Can I change that? Update.
Oh,
I made the same thing.
yeah, mountain.
Huh?
I had the same reaction yesterday.
Oh, the name.
What was the name?
You thought Eris Sinai was the name? No, Eris means mountain.
Yeah. So you look at
It is
it.
nice.
Well, Sinai
Oh,
is Sinai.
yes, it was.
Okay. All right, we're all here. We're all accounted for. We're back. Invigorated. Tired, but invigorated.
Yeah.
Oops. So, Parshas Bahar, the second reading, Leviticus, Vayikra, chapter 25, verse 14. We continue. We started with the sabbatical year, the 7th year, and now we continue. And then we went into the Jubilee year, which is the 50th year, Yovel, as it's called. Okay, and we continue. Verse 14. When you will make a sale. When you will make a sale, you're going to sell something, to your nation, to your people, or you're going to purchase. Kana means to purchase something from your people. Al tainu ish es achiv. Do not do ta'inu, which is to wrong them one another. What does that mean, to wrong? Well, we'll find out. Let's see. Rashi in 14. Kisik meru. When you will make a sale. Lefi pshute, this is understood simply. Kimash as it sounds. Literally, when you're going to buy a plot of land, you're going to buy whatever it might be. But furthermore, yesh darsha, there are those who interpret this in a drush. Drush means expounded, not the simple meaning. Menayin, what is the source? It teaches us that when you sell, that you should sell to your fellow Jew. Talmud Laimar, the verse says, that when you make a sale, sell it to a fellow Jew. And what's the source? It teaches that if you come to buy something, buy from a fellow Jew. Talmud Laimar, as the verse says here also, or when you buy, that you buy from the hands of a fellow Jew. In other words, it's expounding over here, not the simple meaning that you, when you buy and sell, do it with your community, with your fellow Jew. That's what it's saying. Instead of going outside of the community. Huh? It's not speaking about tzedakah, no. Tzedakah is but it's not, I don't want to, let's not confuse the point over here, right?
Right on.
Let's see on the verse. So it's saying it's preferable to do business in the community than outside the community.
Exactly. That's the midrashic, not the simple. The simple meaning when you're coming to purchase something or to sell something, right? Rashi, al ta'ainu, do not victimize, do not wrong. Zu ainas mammon. This is victimizing something in a financial manner. Okay. As we will see that the same term is going to be used in 17 in 2 verses from now also, and it will mean something different. So here it means through money. In other words, take advantage of a person when it comes to business. Okay. What that means, we'll learn in Rambam. Anybody remember in Rambam what it means? It means if you sell something a sixth more than what its value is, then it becomes, financially taking advantage. That's one of the things that it means here. Okay.
Jews.
Right. If you're taking it, not actually certain in the Rambam if that comes out, how that comes out. But yeah, I mean, you're right. It's specifically. And whatever, there's parameters to that. Right? It depends what it is. Okay, 15. B'misbar shanim achar hayovel tikne me'esa misecha. B'misbar shnei tvuas yimkar loch. Okay, so according to the number of years after the yovel, you shall purchase from your fellow Jew. And according to the number of years of crops, right? Mispar shnei tvuos means the number of years of crops, yimchar loch, he shall sell to you. So just to briefly on the what this is, actually, I think Rashi is going to tie in previous one with this. If you sell your property biblically, what happens at Jubilee year? You get it back, right? You get it back. So in fact, what really is happening is you're leasing land, right, from after the Jubilee till the next Jubilee. So that's what it means. You count, right? You should purchase it after the Jubilee because it went back now from your fellow Jew. And according to how many crops, meaning how many years, that's how much you're going to buy it for. And as you're buying it for its capability of producing as opposed to buying the land itself. Because what's going to happen in the following Jubilee year? It's going to return to the original owner.
Wait, so then can you ever transfer the land itself, or is it always just like?
Not biblically. I mean, not biblically.
Wow, okay.
Right.
You're really stuck with it.
Huh?
Like,
no, what it means
no,
stop.
yeah,
On the contrary, that's how you have an ancestry, a legacy that will never, that is in a material way, never lost. Otherwise, you don't have a legacy. You don't have anything that carries on for generations to come, right? So that's part of the concept over here. Aside from that, this is also in the end socialism, right? It's socialism, right? It's not capitalism. Capitalism is not a perfect way to create a society. Perfect way to create a society is the way Torah says. Torah here is bringing something that is, not pure capitalism.
Yeah.
Okay, 15. By the way, that's biblical law. It happens to be in rabbinic law. Afterwards, it was annulled, all of this, because it was not able to, because that way you could not marry into another. It was a difficulty to marry into a different tribe. Because if you had married into a tribe and you had land, so then it might go to the next tribe, and then it'd be a difficulty, it'd be a big challenge. Anyways, not for now. Now, according to the number of years after the Yevel you shall buy, that's a simple meaning. To put the verse in the proper setting, this verse comes to warn us about victimizing in a sale. What's a victimization? Here. Kishetimkar, sikne karka, when you will sell or buy land, do kama shonim yesh adayevel. Know how many years there is until the yovel. The fiashonim, and according to the number of years, or tuas asada, and the number of yields, the crop of the field, shehiruya lasa, it is fitting to produce. Yimkor hamoicher, the seller shall sell. Biikna kenya, the buyer shall buy. Shaharei Seifei, because in the end, right, the buyer is has to return it to the seller b'shnasa yovel in the yovel year. And if there's few years until the yovel, and this one sells it, and he's selling it for a high price. He is victimizing, taking advantage of the buyer. On the other hand, if there's many years until the yovel, And the buyers consume many crops from it. Now the sellers has been victimized, right? In other words, because he's buying it for a cheap price. If that was the case, right? The so therefore you have to buy it according to the fixed price remaining until the yovel. And this is what is meant to state the according to the number of crop years shall you sell to you. According to the amount of crop years, so it will be remain from the hand of the buyer. Timkar, you shall sell to him. Is that clear?
So the price is really fixed in this way. Like there's not much lead room for how much you can sell it or buy it for.
Huh?
The price is very much like nearly fixed in this way. Right?
Yeah.
Like there's not much, it's not like there's a big range of what you can sell it or buy it for. Like it's based on how much
What will come out of this?
The profit.
Right? No, I mean there's a profit here. Of course.
But it's not a crazy like fraud.
Yeah. It's not like the way things are here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's not exploitive.
It's not exploitive. So our sages, they learn out from here. The one who sells a field, he's not permitted to redeem it. Less than 2 years. So now another point he's bringing out over here now. So that if I had a field and I sold it to you, right?
Mhm.
And there's 20 years to the Jubilee, so you're gonna pay $20,000, right? What happens if the reason why do you sell land is because you're not doing well. No one should sell your land. It's your legacy. It's your, it's a family heirloom, your land. So no one's doing that. The only reason you're doing it is because you fell into bad times. And therefore you had to sell the land, right? So now though, 3 years later, I got money. I want my land back. Can I get my land back or do I have to wait to the Jubilee? So this is what our sages learn out now. Okay, follow?
Yep.
Can I purchase back the land? Right? So our sages learn out from here because the verse says according to the years, plural, right? So a person cannot redeem the land back less than 2 years. In other words, if I sold it to you, I have to let you have the benefit for 2 years minimum before I could buy it and purchase it back, redeem it. How much are you going to pay for it when I get it back? Whatever it was minus the 2 years. So it's going to be, if I'm buying it after 3 years, so then it's going to be $17,000 I have to pay back because you bought it for 20 years. You only had the benefit for 3 years, which was $1,000 a year. So, right? So therefore, I have to subtract the 3 from the 20. I'd have to pay back 17. Got it?
But does the purchaser have to sell it back? Or can he just say, no, I'm going to keep it for that 18 years?
That's all part of the understanding. That's what Torah is telling us. That's what our sages are learning out from here, that he has the right to redeem it. Right? Again, remember, this is biblical law. In the end, at a certain time, it was not rabbinic law. It was completely annulled because of the incapable, so many difficulties that it created, like marriage.
Yeah.
Like marriage, right? Okay. So it has to be has to be at least 2 years in the hands of the buyer, from day to day, and other from the day of the purchase. The same day 2 years later, and even if there are 3 crops, let's say that if it's from day to day, I sold it today. So from 2 years from today, let's say there's going to be an extra crop in it season, right?
Mhm.
Because of the time of year that it was sold. That's included. Okay, going for example, he sold them when the crop was standing in it, right? Sorry. And let's say finished. So you might have got an extra crop from it. Fine. That's okay. Because it's the time of 2 years, right? Where do we learn that from? Because it says in the plural, shnei tvuos, years of crops, right? So it means whatever the years of the crops will be, you get.
You being the person who had it for the 2 years.
Right.
Okay.
Ushnei eino yetzu kipshutei. The shnei does not leave its simple meaning. Chaloimar, and others say, mishnei mispar shanim shel tvuos, a number of years of the crops, aloi shidofein, but not of blight. Miut shanim shnayim, the miut, the minimum of years is 2. So it's playing a double meaning over here. Years, minimum is 2. So therefore, our sages learn out that the buyer gets in a minimum of 2 years. The word shnei tvuos, so also the word shnei also means simply, right, the number of years of crops. So you mean you get the whatever in those 2 years will be the amount of crops. So it might be 3 crops that you're getting because of when you bought it when it was standing and you right away harvested. And and 2 years later, the harvest was, within those 2 years, so you got a 3rd crop. Okay. $16. So now the verse is telling us, according to the increase of years, or the Rav Shanim, the more years, Tarbe Miknase, you will increase the purchase, meaning the purchase price, right? Yeah. In other words, to the Jubilee, if there's 30 years, so then that's an increased price, yeah. Right? Ulefi ma'at hashanim, and according to the lesser amount of years, Tamet Miknase, right? Years to the Jubilee, you will minimize or make lesser the purchase. Because it's the amount, the purchase price is the selling of number of crops. It's interesting, it's a number of crops as opposed to a number of years. Rashi Tarbe Miknase will be the full, there shall be the increase of the purchase. In other words, you're going to pay a higher price because you're going to get more crops. Tamid Miknase, Tamid Bidamel means you're going to pay less money.
So you're really buying the crops from the field. That's what
you're leasing the field,
yeah,
for as much as is targeted that you are going to be able to have from the crops. Exactly. 17. Loi sainu, again, the word sainu we had before. What does it mean? Don't do wrong. Don't do something wrong. Ish elamisai, a man to his fellow Jew. Am means your nation, from his nation, right? His fellow Jew. And you shall fear of God. Hashem because I am Hashem, your God. Oh, that's interesting. What's the fear of God got to do over here?
Looking over your shoulder.
Huh?
He's looking over your shoulder.
Yeah, I know, but why? Before we had that you should not wrong do, it didn't say to fear God, right? Because there it was very clear and open, right? What was there that you were taking advantage? That if you sold it for a higher price, or you were undersold, right? Because of the amount of years, right? That's something that's an obvious thing, right? Right? Because it's in the purchase. So that's something that anybody can know what the purchase price was, and that's an obvious thing. Here, it's not an obvious thing what the wrongdoing is. Well, let's see Rashi. 17. Do not victimize, harass, wrongdo to another of your nation. Khan, he's here. Here the Torah is warning us, verbal harassment, verbal taking advantage, not an act, right, of the sale, but verbal. That you should not annoy your fellow Jew, and give him advice that's not appropriate for him. The fee darkai, but according to that which is the mode of life, and also and what's a benefit, shel yoit of the advisor. In other words, I'm giving you so Reuven's giving advice to Shimon, and when he's giving advice, what's a benefit for Reuven?
Yeah.
That's called victimizing another person verbally.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you will say, who's going to know? Right? Who's going to know? Im niskavna l'ra, that your intention was to give bad advice. That's what the verse says. You should fear your God. Because he knows your thoughts. He knows your intentions. Everything's given over to the heart. Which no one can recognize except for the one whose heart the thought is in. Of him it says, that you should have fear of God. Right? Clear?
Yeah.
Last verse for today. Vasisem, and you shall do them, my statutes, meaning my laws that are beyond logic, right? Ves mishpatai, and my ordinances, tishmeru, you shall heed them, vasisem, and you shall do them. Yishaftim al aretz laveta, and you will live on the land securely. Wow. The Rebbe quotes this. I can see the video. I'm quoting this verse before the 6-Day War. Before the 6-Day War, right, when things were ominous because all the Arab nations around Israel were saying they're going to attack, and the Rebbe, by I think it was Lag Baimer, if I recall correctly, the Lag Baimer parade, which was on a Sunday that year, like this year. He spoke about that if you perform the statutes and you do the ordinances of Hashem and perform them, that you will live securely on the land. Yeah. Just simple reading over here. Okay, let's see Rashi now. You shall dwell on the land securely. Shmita, for the sin of not observing the Shmita, Israel Goyalim, the Jewish people will go into exile. Shenemar, they actually went into exile. Shenemar, the verses, then the land will appease its Shmita years. The Hirtzase is Shapsaseha. Later on, in the next parsha, it's going to say that the land is appeased because of the Shemitah year, and it will make its Shemitah year appeasing. Shivim Shana Shel Golus Bavel, for the 70 years that the Jews were in the Babylon exile. Shivim Shemitah is Shebitlo Hayu, corresponding to the 70 Shemitah years that were neglected. Wow. In other words, they were neglected, and because of that, Jews went into exile for 70 years.
Pretty direct correlation.
Yeah.
Please feel free to skip answering this question if it's not relevant, but I don't understand how rabbinic law could just annul biblical law. It just seems I didn't know that was I know some biblical law isn't applicable anymore, but I don't see how you could just say, okay, we're not doing things like this way.
Good question. So the truth is, I have to look it up. To me, I want to make certain I have all the details proper. So I'm not going to answer it now.
Okay.
But the Jubilee year, just to give some background, and that's why I have to double check this. It's a very good question. only in effect when the majority of the Jewish people are living on the land. That's first of all. And as we just learned over here, the Jews went into exile because they didn't observe the law properly. And that's why they went into exile. That's secondly. Third point is that the Torah gives a very clear hand to the sages that we have to follow their dictate to the degree that if they say that the right is left and the left is right, you got to follow. Right. Now, that doesn't answer the question, though. The question is a very good one. That doesn't mean that they can uproot a law in the Torah, right? Just so simply, right? They can't do that. I'm just giving that as some just background context, but I still want to. I have to look that up.
Okay.
To understand that better. Remind me. But excellent question. Excellent question. Sure, Leslie.
If the previous owner redeems his land, and then purchaser, he puts the purchaser at great disadvantage.
But he knows that initially, when the purchaser bought it, he knows that can happen. He knows it. Listen, the Torah just said it, right?
It's at his risk.
Yeah. I mean, he's buying it knowing that he may only have it for 2 years. But let's say the guy has lots of servants, right? And he doesn't have what to give them what to do. So now, right, he doesn't have enough work for them. So he's got a bunch of servants. He has more land, so he can create brothers. He's making a benefit in those 2 years, right? He's making his, right? The profit is not from the real estate, which is interesting. The point over here, the profit's not from the real estate, right? It's from the produce, right? Which is an interesting idea. Just a thought that, now there's the real estate is real. And from there is not to be made a profit. Where's the profit? From what you produce. Your productivity is where you make your profit, right? Not from, like, land is, it's not
Literally the opposite of what's happening today.
the complete opposite. But in Jewish law today, on the contrary, everybody should go into real estate and make that and make the profit in the real estate and so on. On the contrary, right? But the concept is the opposite. Others, because you did not make from your productivity, right? You did it just because land goes up, right? If you hold on to it long enough, you're for sure going to get a higher price, right? It never happened in history, probably, that good, if you sold it at a market crash, then you're not. But if you held on to it for 5 years later, for sure you're going to make more money, right? It's always going to make more. But what made more? Not your productivity, right? The Torah is telling you, make your profit from your productivity. Interesting, again, that's biblical law, a lesson that maybe we could take out of it, but it doesn't mean. Okay. Hey, we're going to come to Tanya in a few moments. All right, folks. Thank you.
Thank you.